Hit record and put you up. You're on.
All right, so just go for it then.
Yeah, just tell them who you are and tell us what you want us to know.
Sounds good. So my name is Alec Robinson. I am 27 years old from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I've been sober now. Well, let's see here. A little over 4 years and 4 months. So what my story, I suppose, kind of there's a lot of elements that kind of go into it. I I've suffered from anxiety and depression since I was 11 years old. That's kind of when everything came to fruition and everything started happening. So so yeah, I struggled with really bad crippling anxiety when I transitioned into middle school at the age of 11 or 12. I don't remember exactly what age that is, but that was kind of where everything started for me. So I one day it was my first day of school, and all of a sudden I started feeling these feelings that I had never experienced before in my life. And my anxiety resides in my gut. So when I get super nervous, I throw up. And I spent like the first day just wrapped around a toilet, absolutely just throwing up. And when you're that young and you're at that age, and all of a sudden you start having these feelings, you have no idea what's going on. You're like, is there something wrong with me? What's going on here? And so I spent the better part of a year trying to kind of figure out what was going on. My whole family's in the medical field, so that made things a little bit easier in terms of they were like, "Oh, well, you might have some anxiety issues." So I started seeing a bunch of doctors and everything, got put on medication, and things started to get a little bit better for me. But for anyone out there who kind of understands anxiety, anxiety and depression go hand in hand. So usually when you get one, you get the other with it as well. It wasn't until later in my life that the depression started kicking in. I'd say pretty early into high school, I started having issues with depression where all of a sudden, again, one of those times I had no motivation for everything. I was a pretty high level hockey player, and it was my whole life. That's all I did, especially being up here in Minnesota. You know, you play hockey and everything, and I had no want to to play hockey anymore. I didn't want to spend time with friends anymore. And when you have that flip switch in your head, it's pretty scary because again, you're young, you really don't have any idea what's going on. So yeah, I started feeling really bad about myself, just having no motivation or want to really do anything at all. So I actually started pretty young age. I started, I guess recreationally drinking and everything when I was, I don't know, probably 14 years old. Nothing crazy, just being young and dumb and going to parties with friends and everything. And but I realized really early on at a young age, I was like, oh, I'm pretty good at this. That's probably not the best thing to be good at when you're that young, but alcoholism runs very deep in my family. So I got the drinking gene, that's for sure. And then you mix in some narcotics on from time to time, have yourself a good time, throw some Xanax in the mix and everything, and it's quite the recipe for disaster. But yeah, I mean, started drinking quite a bit, and then my depression got to the point where I no longer wanted to live anymore. I tried committing suicide twice. When I was 16, I spent a month in an inpatient psychiatric ward. Kind of bullshitted my way through that, as anyone who's got, addiction issues know. You're the master deception. You know exactly what to say, how to say it, and who to say it to. So got myself out of there pretty quick. I spent a month there, and then got myself put back in there my senior year of high school. And so at that point, I was, at one of the lowest points in my life, and I was getting ready to transition into college. Both my parents thought I wasn't exactly ready to go to college. Looking back, absolutely was not. And so they said, "Well, we don't feel like you're ready to go to college." I thought I was, which obviously I wasn't. They said, "Well, we're not really wanting to financially help you, get into college." And I said, "Well, if you don't do that, I'll just join the military." And they said, "Well, we're not going to do that." So the next thing I did, I went and enlisted in the Marine Corps the next day, just out of spite, basically. So yeah, I did my time in the military, and of course, anyone who's familiar with the military, the culture is drinking. Whenever you're not working, you're drinking. So um, I mean, the first few years, you're so low on the totem pole that you don't really think for yourself. So I was kind of a yes man for quite a while, but then you start picking up rank, you get some more free time on your hands, and that's when my drinking really started to develop again. I have a brother that lives out in California, and me and him would definitely put him back. From starting with a 24 pack, and then polishing off and it's just what I did. I used alcohol to self-medicate for all the shit that I didn't want to deal with in my own life. And so once basically developed the heavy drinking throughout the military, and when I got out, I had no idea what I wanted to do. You kind of when you get out of the military, they kick you to the curb, and you're like, "Hey, best of luck. Hope you don't mess up too badly." Um, yeah, so I got out. I was 22 years old, had no idea what I wanted to do. That's all I knew for the last years was, the military, being told what to do, when to do it, and everything. So when you transition back into the civilian world, it's not the easiest transition. So I got into a relationship right out of the military, and was not so great for me. I mean, I don't need to go into super long details about that, but basically, I had no fulfillment in my own life, and I put all of that onto her and expected her to provide happiness and be my beacon of light, which she wasn't. We had our issues and everything like that. She was a drinker, I was a drinker, so it was just a big recipe for disaster. Um, but yeah, I ended up getting a DUI, wrapped my car around a vehicle. That didn't stop me, kept going. And at that point, I was pretty heavy into narcotics as well. I really like pain pills. The funny thing is, I never did anything dumb on pain pills. I'd just sit on my couch, pop an obscene amount of OxyContin or Percocet and just chill, giggle, and watch TV. So the narcotics were never really the thing that got me into trouble. Surprisingly, I'm still alive today. It absolutely blows my mind. I put so many narcotics into my system in a small amount of time that I should definitely not be alive today. But yeah, and then after me and her split, that's kind of when I went off the deep end. I mean, throughout that whole time, I was drinking heavily, but it got to the point where I was just drinking alone, and then it got to the point where basically I just sat at like a .07 throughout the whole day, and then when I was done with everything I needed to do, I just went at it. I couldn't fall asleep unless I finished a carrier of Windsor whiskey before I went to bed. So that just, was probably a year of doing that, to the point where, I made so many terrible mistakes throughout that, where it was, I was a violent drunk, so I had gotten, physical with my brother quite a few times. A, f- a few incidents with my sister, but yeah, so I was not the happiest drunk. I basically flipped on a dime. I could be having a really good time, and then something triggers me, and it all goes downhill from there. And I became, the Incredible Hulk. But yeah, I was religiously drinking every single day for about a year, and then my last eye-opening moment was it was a few days before the 4th of July, and I was out on the Mississippi River with some friends, drinking from 7 in the morning all the way through the night. And then my mother actually picked me up. I was at least smart enough to ask for a ride home, but then after that, everything, I don't remember anything. I woke up the next morning, and walk downstairs and both my parents are sitting at the kitchen table, just absolutely mortified. And I'm like, oh boy, what I do this time? And then they asked me if I remember anything. I did. I didn't, and they told me I ended up getting super physical with my mother and my father. My mom's a little 5 foot 95 pound woman, and they called the cops. The cops came. They settled me down. My parents didn't press charges or anything, but basically they told me, if you figure your shit out, unfortunately we're gonna have to cut ties. So it was actually that very, very next day that I told myself, um, "No more. You gotta quit." And so, I made a promise to myself and my family members. I actually remember sitting in the parking lot and, sending out a group text to, my all the closest people, and said, "Hey, I'm done drinking." And of course, everyone was like, "Yeah, okay, we've heard this a million times." And here we are, 4 years and some change later. And uh, it's funny, when I got sober, everything kind of seemed to fall into place. I mean, overall, you don't believe what you can do when you're actually not intoxicated. It's pretty wild. You can get a lot of shit done. Um, but the big misconception I think a lot of people have with sobriety is, oh, if I get sobriety, all my problems will go away. Which in fact, you get sober and you finally realize, holy shit, I actually do have all these issues, and now I got to deal with them. I think a lot of people have success in with sobriety when they actually start tackling those issues that they do have. And then some people, unfortunately, they don't, and they just fall back in and relapse or whatever it may be. I know a lot of people who work the program. I know a lot of people who don't and have success. I was the type of person, I didn't do a 12-step program. I told myself, "Hey, I'm not gonna drink or do drugs anymore," and fortunately, I've been able to do that ever since. My mom always told me my grandpa quit cold turkey, so she always says, "You got the drinking gene from him, but you also got the self-discipline that he did as well in terms of just quitting." Um, I'm a firm believer that it takes overall 2 weeks to get all the alcohol, drugs, all that out of your system, and then after those 2 weeks, it's all on you. You can either and, you know, I break it down to how do you stay sober? It's just a yes or no thing. You either tell yourself that you're not going to, or you make excuses for yourself as to why you're gonna do it. Um, I know technically it's not that cut and dry, but at the end of the day, it really is. It's either you do it or you don't. You can have I get quite a few people. I'm pretty vocal about my sobriety and everything via social media and everything, and I get an overwhelming amount of people that reach out, and they always ask, so how'd you do it, how'd you do it, how do you continue to do it? And unfortunately, I don't have all those answers because everyone's different. But the one thing I do say is at the end of the day, you can have the greatest support system in the world, but they're not going to keep you sober. It comes down to you, whether you want it or not. And i I think I always tell people, I think there's 3 things that you need to have to be successful, not only in life, but sobriety as well and everything. And that's, someone to love, whether that's, a family member, a dog, a pet, whatever it may be, someone to love, something to do with your time, work, hobbies, all that, and then something to look forward to. And I think if you keep those 3 things in mind, those are 3 things that can really get you out of any situation or continue to lead you down the path of success. Um, yeah, but that's the crazy thing about sobriety is there is no blueprint for it. There isn't. I mean, everyone responds differently to it. Everyone not it isn't. It's not a workout plan. It's not a plan you can follow and expect to get results from. It's all catered to that individual person. Some people might need overwhelming amount of support. Some people might not need any at all. It's just one of those things that you got to find out. It's all trial and error as well. You got to go in, you got to figure out what works and what doesn't work for you. And but it's hard because it's something that you have to put the time and effort into. And but if you do put the time and effort into it, you will find what works. You will find what works, and you'll find out real quick the things that don't work. Um, but also that comes with, everything else that comes from, you know, in terms of like forgiveness and everything like that. I mean, I think my family forgave me right from the start. They forgave me right away for everything I did, and I put them through the absolute ringer. But the hardest thing that I had to deal with was actually forgiving myself for the things I did. I don't know if I've exactly forgiven myself for everything I've done yet, but I'm working on it. I try to be the best person I can possibly be every single day. I try to help out, as many people as I possibly can, because that's where I think that that rebuilding happens, is when, if you have success with something, to be able to pass that on to someone else and show support. Because I absolutely, I hate seeing people struggling with health, chemical abuse issues, because I know what that's like. I know what it's like to be at the bottom pits of hell, and figuring, how the hell am I going to come back from it? And I think that discourages so many people. But what they don't realize is, you can do it. You have all the capabilities in the world to do it. And if you do that, you're not going to believe the things that you're capable of doing. When you can give yourself the gift of having a clear mind all the time, you're not only going to find out a lot about yourself, but you're going to find out things that you love. You're going to find out things that you hate. You're going to find out things that you want to pursue in life, things that you thought you did but you actually don't. For me, that's where all my successes come from in the past 4 plus years. Is, you know I had no idea when like I was saying, I had no idea what I wanted to do when I got out of the military. And I call it divine intervention or something, but I ended up, meeting my now business partner pretty shortly after. And that's when kind of everything started, falling into place for me. I found my purpose in life and what I wanted to do. And um and that, having a purpose in life is everything. Having a reason to wake up in the morning. And that's what I found. And it was, I credit, my success in sobriety to a huge portion of that, to finding my purpose in life. So I mean, you think about it, if you don't have any purpose in life, what's the fucking point? Like, what are you doing? I don't, and your purpose can be so many different things, whether that's, being a parent, or your job, or whatever it may be. But if you find your purpose, hold on to that shit as hard as you fucking can, and don't let it go, because that's going to be your guiding point in every aspect of your life. So now, I'm 27 years old. I never in a million years would have believed this is where I'm at in my life now. Never. If I would have told myself at 21, I'd be like, hey, you're running a clothing brand, you tour manage for a band, and on top of that, you're 4 years sobriety, I'd be like, yeah, fucking okay. So I mean, it's crazy when you give yourself that opportunity to have a clear mind. Everything opens up. Everything opens up. Everything, from just giving you that capability to truly find your potential in everything in life, whether that is work or if it's a relationship. I wouldn't be where I am today if I wasn't sober. I know that. One, I'd either be in jail, dead, or whatever it may be. I wouldn't be here today. 100% know that. I've come to terms with that a long time ago. And this is my this is my second chance at life. I finally, for the first time in, four or the 23 years of my life, I feel like I'm actually living now. I feel alive, and I truly feel myself, and I've found myself in the past 4 years. And it's something that's never gonna, I'm never gonna be done with. That's the crazy thing about it, is you're always gonna be continually figuring more and more about yourself. and it can be scary at times because you're like, oh shit, I don't like those things, that's for sure. But then you learn ways around that, and you learn ways to cope with bad behavior and bad thoughts and everything like that. But it all comes down to you having that clear mind and actually having the full capabilities of making proper decisions. And I like I say to many people, I'm like, I have no excuse. I have no excuses anymore. Well, with whatever my behavior is as a person, being a good person, being a bad person, doing good or bad things, like, I don't have being drunk or high to fall back on anymore. It's all on me now. I have to consciously make every single decision now because I don't have anything that I can blame it on anymore. So really, really makes, puts things into perspective and really makes you take that extra second to think. So yeah, I mean, I'm stoked for the future. I don't exactly know what all that means and what's all in store for me, but I'm super excited to figure that out. That's for sure. And yeah, if I wasn't sober, I would not be where I am today. I can tell you that. So yeah, I don't uh, uh was that a is that a good amount of time? Is there anything more
Perfect.
you want me to?
That's perfect. How can people find you? Do you want people?
Oh, yeah. So I'm pretty active on Instagram. That's like my biggest platform that I go on. It's just Alec Robinson underscore. Um, so that, yeah, hit me up on there. I tell people all the time, if I don't have all the answers for sobriety, that's for sure. But what I can do is I can lend an understanding ear. So if you want to shoot me a message on there, you're more than welcome to. I'll be honest, I get a lot of messages. I have a pretty decent following, so I get a lot of messages. So don't take that as me ignoring you. I try to put away some time to be able to try to get through all those. But yeah, Instagram's huge also. My clothing brand's company is at Iron and Ink Fitness. We make tattoo inspired streetwear, so we've got a huge passion for clothing, and we're bringing everyone, people from all walks of life into it, which is pretty awesome about it. Got a lot of people who are sober that have found being active is extremely beneficial for them, and that the clothing gives them an extra boost of confidence to be able to go out there and do that. So yeah, that's the Instagram for Iron and Ink. Yeah, it's Iron and Ink Fitness. But yeah, either that or on my personal Instagram. Yeah, you're more than welcome to reach out if you got anything you want to talk about. Like I said, I'll do my best to get back to you in a timely fashion because I do get a lot of messages, but I try my best.
Perfect.